Here we are, the Amix family. Great-grandchildren, grandchildren, and children of Leon and Elvira Amix. This photo was taken at the property in 1995, shortly after our Grandpa Leon had passed away. That's me on the left, Tim Amix, one of the grandsons. To my right is the matriarch of the family, Elvira, Grandma. This year our grandmother is turning 90. Join me as I now take you on a video and photo journey down memory lane. Along with my grandmother, I'm going to share with you photographs, home movies, and some video interviews that we've recorded over the years. Get comfortable, sit back, and enjoy the show. Let's begin in the beginning. Elvira Amix, also known as Vi, or in her earlier days, Elvira Gossett. Most of you have known her for years, if not your entire life. To all of us, she's been either grandma, mom, a big sister, an aunt, a neighbor, friend, and for over 60 years, wife of Leon Amix. Her parents were Chester Gossett and Mabel Taggart. Both were born in 1886 and married in 1910. Their first child was a little girl, born March 22nd, 1912. How she got her name depends on who you ask.
Well, my mother and dad claimed that they made up the name. My father had a sister, Elvira, and my mother had a sister, Vivian. And they claimed they put those two together and made the name up. Well, that's an old name.
Well, I was born March 22nd, 1912. And there were no kids before me.
You were the oldest.
I was the oldest. I was the firster. After that, there were 5. Well, there was Chester and Jean Ruth, Clifford Henry, Allison Hensley, and Gilbert Barton. My dad was always very close to all of us. We each had our own place, and to him I was always his little girl. And my mother was a marvelous cook. She loved to cook. She loved to experiment with recipes, and every time she'd get a new one, she'd share it with all of us. Why don't you try this?
No, in fact, I think maybe comes right down to it. I probably have more privileges because I was the oldest. It seems like it. I think my brothers and sisters probably thought that anyway.
Vi lived her first 8 years on the little island of Alameda.
It was a little shingled bungalow. I could find it in a hurry if I could get there. Probably. I used to walk to school from there. But no, that wasn't. It was just a residential. It was called a bedroom community for San Francisco. A lot of people commuted. They'd take the train that went around the island, and that would take you to the mole. And then you take the ferry across.
Vi graduated from Hayward High School in 1928. The following year, she enrolled in San Jose State College. While commuting on the bus from the East Bay to San Jose, she caught the eye of a young suitor.
On the bus, coming from San Leandro, which is a little town then, I saw a cute, chubby little, sweet little 16-year-old girl.
His brother wanted to go to a dance, and he wasn't old enough to drive the car. Or at least his father wouldn't let him take the car, I guess that was it. So he wanted Grandpa to take him with a date. And Grandpa said, well, I don't know anybody to take. He says, well, ask the girl on the bus.
So I asked her. She said, I'll have to ask my mother.
And I said, well, I have to ask my mama.
So she came in one morning in my French class, and I was sitting waiting for class to start, and she came running in. And motioned for me, and I came to the door. She said, my mother said I could go.
And I said, that was our first date, and that was fun. That was kind of thrilling.
Vi's courtship with Leon didn't last long. They were married in San Leandro in 1931.
It was not a showy wedding. It was a nice little wedding with a family and friends. And it wasn't meant to be show. And I don't know that it had been considered a big wedding. It was, to us and our family and our friends, it was a real special occasion, naturally.
Shortly thereafter, Leon and Vi moved to Salinas. This became their hometown for the next 53 years.
Yeah, for Salinas. That was the first contract for Salinas. He had a part-time job in the high school and the junior college. They combined it for that first year. But just 1 year that he taught in the high school. I mean, 2 or 3 classes in the high school, and the rest of it in the junior college.
They were in this house on Roche Street near the airport for 9 years. In 1947, they bought their 4-acre lot in the San Venancio Canyon. While in Salinas, they raised their 3 children. Diane was born in 1932, then Chester in 1936, and the baby, Arlen, in 1940. Vi was the prototype mom of the pre- and post-war years. Never loaded with cash, Vi learned to get by with the most from her dollar. If there were 10 kernels of corn left on a plate, she would store them in an old margarine tub and freeze them in the back freezer for a later meal. As her children began to leave the nest, she made the transition from mom to grandma. It was a role that she was born to play. Nobody spoiled his or her grandkids any better than Grandma Vi, and there were soon 11 of them to spoil. David Broom was the first in 1959. 1 month later came Tim. A couple of years passed before Kirk was born, and then they started gathering steam. After Kirk were Linda, then Lisa, Cooper, Adele, Medisa, Michelle, Matt, and Randy. Raina, Robin, and Kristen joined the family as late edition grandkids a few years later. Vi and Leon's house in the San Venancio Canyon became the vacation mecca for the family. Many spent holidays and vacations here. Riding the tractor during the day and eating Grandma's mashed potatoes in the evening were the highlights of the day. By the 1960s, Leon, Vi, and the family had purchased their 40-acre lot of land outside of Georgetown. The property, as it was simply known, became the other part of the state to spend vacations. Not long after the property was purchased, Leon and Vi bought a summer cabin not far from the 40 acres of wilderness. The years passed quickly, too quickly. The grandkids grew up and started families of their own. Deanna Broom was the first great-grandchild, born in 1983. Within a few years, it was a real smorgasbord of great-grandkids, almost too many to count. In 1981, Leon and Vi celebrated their 50th anniversary. It was a huge party in Salinas and dozens of family and friends came from miles around. It was an unforgettable day. After 37 years of living at 265 San Venancio Canyon Road, Vi and Leon packed up and moved north to Auburn. Closer to the property, the cabin, and 2 children, it was a logical move to make. They'd be at this house on Riverwoods Road for the next 14 years. This house also became the next home for yearly Thanksgiving feasts.
Happy Thanksgiving!
Each year, Grandma would supervise the meal, while Grandpa would give the thanks and try not to cry. This house was packed with as many wonderful memories in the 14 years they were here as they did in their Salinas home. By 1995, Grandma and Grandpa were slowing down. Leon passed away in 1995. He lived to be 86 and lived life to its fullest. 86 wonderful years were passed on to his family and loved ones. 2 years later, Vi moved to Morro Bay. It was here where son Chester, the architect and home builder in training, built her a little cottage in his backyard. It is the home that Vi lives in today. 90 years, 3 kids, 12 grandchildren, 22 great-grandchildren, and counting, can celebrate in her honor. Happy birthday, Grandma Vi.
They are really conscientious, sweet, loving people. You know, and if they get angry, they usually keep themselves. They don't talk loud to people. They don't get in arguments. They just think in terms of doing things all right for themselves, for the family, and for other people.
That they were honest people, and they always took anybody else. They never said anything bad about anybody. They always took people as for what they were.
They liked people. I never heard them say bad things about people. They enjoyed being around other people. Grandma was always very friendly.
Yeah, I think we should be on a hillside.
Front lower. I'm trying to stretch so they can see.
You're eating, aren't you?
No, I can
I just finished my sandwich.
hats on around here.
Still in my teeth.
Well, Grandma's doing the talking, huh? We got to be still. She's got the microphone on her.
Okay.
You guys,
You got the date there. This is April 10th, 1993. This is my grandma.
Hi, everybody.
Well,
Here's Grandpa.
good job, huh?
That's Grandma's
Hello.
husband. They've been
Hello,
married
everybody
for
over
about
there.
60
Yeah.
some odd years. Pile Nicole on.
There you go, Nicole, on top of Grandma. She'll be in at midnight and see that.
She says, I want my pie. I want my pie, everybody.
You want to sit with them too?
Me either, but with nothing emotional. Yes. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Grandma.
Matthew, hide that hat. Are you the man on the street?
Yeah.
Oh, well, what's the subject for today? What's the subject for today?
You?
Oh! Let's find something more interesting than that.
In those days, there wasn't even much of a radio. The first one I remember was Hoover. I went to Stanford with my father to the stadium to listen to Hoover. I used to get kind of mad at my brother because when we go for rides, he'd get to sit up front with my dad. Mother should sit up there. He doesn't need to sit up there. Mother should be up there. I guess Dad had been looking at a car or something. And we drove home in this car, a used car. Didn't have new cars for years. So that's the first time I can remember our having a car. It was apparently something of a lemon. As far as, but Daddy sure learned about cars from that. He'd take it up. I can remember, I can see it now. There was a little garage he'd built in back, and at nighttime he'd work on the car, and there was a light in the garage working on this car at night.
the old Maxwell.
The old Maxwell. I think because of it was our first introduction to a foreign country, and the little villages were so quaint and lovely. The people were so friendly. England was so green and picturesque. It just seemed like it was more like a foreign country in some ways. We were in line one time getting ready to go on a ferry, and we were buying some chips from a man. And he was trying to tell us how much it was. And he was saying 8, but he'd say "ite," and we couldn't understand it. I don't know what "ite" was, whether it was 80 cents or 8 cents or 8 pennies or whatever the denomination was. Oh, they're just wonderful. Yes, they bring back so many memories.
I know it's probably impossible to choose, but I won't give you one, but maybe you have a favorite 2 or 3 that mean any particular special. Do you remember him bringing these home and you saying, well, what are we going to do with that? Put that in the garage, get it out of here. There's no room for that.
Oh, he'd lean them up against the wall and criticize them. Well, then, I liked those great big licorice sticks, whips, or whatever they were, like those.
Red or black?
They were black. I don't think they had red then. Hillsides, having fun.
You be quiet back there. We're talking to Grandma. Oh! All right. Nicole, what do you have to say to your grandma and grandpa in Japan?
She told Grandpa, she says, this little girl used to look at me and say, I know my lesson, please don't call on me. She read me like a book. Yeah, I used to ride that to school and I'd skate. I'd bounce off the curb and cross the street, bounce up, and I'd go up the steps at the school, and then I'd take my skates off. I couldn't do that. Now I'd be afraid to try to stand up. I love to skate. Oh, it was fun. We had a big party had a restaurant and had the family all came and friends came, and we celebrated that anniversary. We had a special cake that the baker had made and used the top that had been on my mother's 50th anniversary cake.
Es como una ratoncita super divina. Can you hug Grandpa, please? Something you can do together?
Are we on one? Okay, there they are. We got you guys rolling recording there.
Kiss, we want a kiss.
Are we on one ear, one female? We're in there.